All right, hey, what's up, guys? Coach Mac, Play Fast Football. All right, I'm going to do a video today on the beauty of rip-liz match. I had a subscriber ask me a question to do a video on rip-liz match coverage. I do not play a ton of rip-liz match coverage. I have looked at it. I have studied it. I do not play it, but what I'm going to do today is describe why it was created and the beauty of it versus the route combinations that, or certain throws that it was created for. All right, make sure you check out some of our partners, Dome Hats, which is the headwear company that we use to play fast football in the school I'm currently at. This is one of my all-gray school hats with our logo on the front and then our kind of school slogan motto on the back, all right, the Velcro enclosure. We have another hat that's white and orange, so I changed the style of the hat, the colors of the hat. You can make it completely customizable with their online hat builder so that you can design your own hats. It can be snapback, it can be Velcro, it can be fitted. You can put embroidery on it, you can change the logo, color schemes, hat style, completely customizable because every hat has a story. Let Dome Hats help you tell your hat story. Baker Sporting Goods, which is the company I use for coaching shirts like this, spirit packs for our players, stuff our players wear under uniforms. The uniforms themselves are distributed by Baker Sporting Goods. If I'm ever going to do an online store for fans or teachers or players, we use Baker Sporting Goods, so make sure you check them out. Just Play Football, digital software, bringing your program to the next level. It's a more powerful way to present your information, like your playbook or your game plans, to your players, because you can actually design quizzes, and it's got different features that allow you to test the knowledge of your players inside of your playbook and your game plan. I love it because anytime I'm going to do speaking clinics or I'm going to do webinars, I use their software because it's the easiest and best play drawing diagram tool for me. I understand how to use it and it's simple. GameStrat sideline replay system that we use here. If you're looking for a highly reliable, highly affordable sideline replay system, make sure you check out GameStrat. DifferenceUSA, the ultimate striking machine. Work on striking in the offseason. You can hook it up to your racks in your weight room. All right, you work on elbows in, thumbs up, hips rolling, all the things you need to do to properly strike. Tensions, coils on the inside change, so as the kids get stronger, you can change the tension to make it harder to lev the pad in, so make sure you check out DifferenceUSA, high and tight. All right, ball security training aid with an auditory device that beeps. It's got sensors inside the panels. You have to hold the ball in the correct position with the correct points of pressure. If you do not, you will not hear the beep. If you do not hear the beep, you are not doing it correctly, so it instantly builds muscle memory for how to carry the football with the right, proper points of pressure, wrist above the elbow, split the tip. You hear the beep, you know you're doing it right, so it's muscle memory. You hear us getting better, check out High and Tight. So, in the old days, or the older days, all right, rip-liz match goes back to Nick Saban playing country cover 3 as an 8-man front defense, middle of the field, closed defense in the NFL. And it was a spot drop defense where, by spot drop, what you mean is you're going to have players that drop. So you're going to have a curl flat player, and you're going to have a hook curl player, and you're going to have a hook curl player, you're going to have a curl flat player. And there are players that drop to spots on the field, all right? So certain landmark spots on the field, they're trying to reroute vertical routes as they get to their spot. But then they're going to, when they get to their landmark, they are going to vision and break off of the quarterback. All right, well, the one thing that drives middle of the field or one high safety, 3 deep coverage looks is 4 verticals. So the ability for a team with number 2 receiver on each side, whether he's attached or removed, to be able to go down the field with outside receivers that can go down the field. All right, what started happening was, and the way Nick Saban describes it, you can read it anywhere. This is not something I came up with. It's on a million different websites. The bottom line is they were playing country cover 3 to get into their 8-man front stuff. And when you had quarterbacks in the NFL like Dan Marino and you're trying to reroute seams and he's still throwing these balls in there, all right, that, you know, if you hang on the reroute longer, they're doing things with the outside receivers that your corners can't get to. If you let the reroute go too early or you don't get a good reroute, he's humming the seam ball that the free safety can't get to. So the bottom line was they got to a point where they were playing really great defense and they were in the top of the NFL and they were playing that year against certain teams. And, you know, I think it was the Steelers. It was also the Steelers that year, and they couldn't play their single high 8-man front defense because they were getting eaten apart by certain passing schemes. All right, and then the failure that they had was against schemes that were picking apart their 8-man front stuff, and when they tried to go to more split safety stuff, they couldn't defend the run. So what he had to do is he had to come up with a way, all right, that he could morph some, coverages, 2 coverages into 1, because what he explains is when you're getting balls like that thrown into those windows, one of the answers would be to play cover one or man-free defense. If their man is better than your man, you're going to have a hard time playing cover one. So they couldn't go to cover one because they felt like the talent didn't match up. But they couldn't play country cover three because the quarterbacks were throwing these balls into spots that no matter how good they played the coverage, they just couldn't get there because of the talent of the quarterback. Okay, so, you know, obviously when it's cover three type stuff, everybody talks about four verticals, four verticals, four verticals. There are a lot of other concepts that Coach Saban talks about in different throws and different balls. But the bottom line is, it was the ability for Nick Saban to create and adapt, which I've always talked about in all my other videos. Football is a game that adapts out of necessity. All right? Things happen that give you trouble, and you have to make an adaptation out of necessity, and that's what Rip-Liz match became. So I'm not going to get into all the ins and outs of Rip-Liz match because we don't play it, and there's a lot of other people out there that can give it to you better than that. But the bottom line is Rip-Liz match basically became a deal. The Rip-Liz call was based on the rotation of the safeties, okay? And basically versus two inside receivers or four vertical threats with two to each side and an even front. All right, it gave them the ability, instead of playing it inside now, the Rip-Liz was basically the safety that was rolling down. So nowadays, with everybody playing in nickel and dime and everything else, if you got three safeties on the field, you're in a better matchup anyways. But the Rip-Liz was the communication tool to figure out which safety was going down. All right, so in the old days, whether it was 3-4 teams or it was 4-3 teams that had a true Sam, you get into a situation where you wanted to communicate which side the safety was going down so that the outside backer to the other side understood that what his responsibilities were. And maybe in the origin of the defense, the origin of the defense, the original scheme of the defense, all right, the free safety might have leaned to the side of the outside backer of the Sam, all right, because he felt better that the other safety could carry his vertical, so he had to help the seam to where, all right, the least effective coverage player was. Well, now we're in a world where when you're seeing spread teams or a lot of vertical threats, teams are now playing 5 DBs and 6 DBs, so they have safeties that can carry twos vertically, all right, on both sides of the field. So the Rip-Liz was kind of a communication deal. I know if you go back and read the original documents on the coverage, the Rip-Liz was probably the side that they were matching to, and then the other side was maybe a side that they were playing more cover three rules with the free safety leaning to that side, all right? But the match part of the coverage, the Rip-Liz is the safety communication, okay? So if the safety on the left is spinning down, it's a Liz call, all right? Versus this set right here, I've got two safeties on both verticals, and they're both gonna carry those verticals. So we're playing the same coverage to each side, all right? Again, if you go back and study it, originally, in the beginning, I think you'll find out that it was a match on one side and more of a cover three principle on the other side, with the free safety leaning a little bit more to the side that they were playing cover three, where maybe they were just going to try and reroute because the other side was being matched. Well, now what they do is now they're going to play this from outside in. So they're going to play these number twos from outside in, and they're going to carry anything vertical. All right, so this star is going to carry any vertical route, and he's going to do it by carrying it with outside leverage, and he's going to be allowed to be a little bit lower on the bottom hip because they want to force all these seam throws into that rangy athletic free safety. Okay, so the idea is to get these seams carried outside and low, so the ball has to be thrown inside and higher so that the free safety can make plays. So now that this apex or this safety, the guy that spins down to play that number two, all right, he's going to carry that vertical and he's going to match any out routes. All right, so it basically morphs into a version of cover one. If number two is vertical or out, it's going to morph into a version of cover one. All right, so what it's going to do is it's going to take itself from its original, all right, its original theme, country cover three spot drop, and based on the routes and the distribution and how the releases work, it's going to morph itself into cover one when it needs to morph itself into cover one. So it's its own system of checks and balances to where when you need cover three to be cover one versus those route concepts, it morphs itself into cover one. But if you don't need it to be cover one, all right, so for argument's sake, this two were to release inside, all right, you'll now get an undercall from that safety, and this side of the coverage will work more like traditional cover three. Okay, so it's a coverage that starts off as your old school country, spot drop, cover 3. But based on the routes, it now morphs itself into cover 1, so that versus the concepts you need cover 1, it becomes cover 1, versus the concepts where cover 3 is better. So again, if you got a system like this where let's say you were getting some type of like mesh deal, right? And if you were playing cover 1 and you were getting some type of mesh deal where you were getting crossers here, back out somewhere, all these crossers with guys chasing them all over the field are going to become rubs and picks and man beaters. Okay, so if they know that you're in man, they're going to get you in these situations to get rubs and picks and things to beat man. Okay, if they know that you're in zone, that's when you would see, all right, more of the seam balls and different throws that they can get to, or more of the flood concepts where maybe they'd take him out, he'd break it off, he'd go there, and the NFL quarterbacks were so good that if you gave them any window at all, they threw it before you could vision and break. So the beauty of Rip Liz Match is the coverage morphs into what it needs to morph itself into based on the release of the receivers. Okay, so it's almost its own system of check with me, if you can follow along with that. All right, it's a coverage that basically becomes its own system of check with me based on the pattern distribution of the receivers. So when the pattern distribution needs it, okay, so now when this guy's outside here, when this 2 tries to affect them in the seam with a vertical release, and it needs to become cover 1, it becomes cover 1. But if this 2 were to release inside, and now it's safe for this to become cover 3, it can now become cover 3. All right, and then the inside backers, again, the technique of the inside backers, the robot player, the cut player, those are all things that you need to study Rip Liz Match, all right, to kind of evolve yourself on. But the bottom line is the coverage is played because it can morph itself into what it needs to be based on the release of the receivers. It allows you to still play 8-man fronts. Okay, so if you were, if you were defending some type of 2-back set or whatever, and you wanted to get, all right, or even if it was, let's just say it's some type of 2-back set or whatever, and it's here, okay, it allows itself, all right, the corners, the little bit I'm going to talk about the corners basically become all of one vertical. They can get rid of inside routes and get on the top and help on number 2, like on snag stuff or underneath corner routes, but the corners, basically, for the most part, you'll see a lot of press cover 1. You'll see a lot of man-to-man, all of number 1. So the corner's job gets a little bit easier, and it lets them be the dudes that they want to be. All right, but you get the side over here where you're going to play the match concept. All right, and now let's say, for argument's sake, here there's really no number 2 weak. All right, there's really no number 2 weak, so you're going to rotate this safety down, and you're going to get to your 8-man box. There's really no number 2 weak per se right now from this set. So now you get that weak side overhang. You're able to do the things under number 1 you want to do. You're able to present that 8-man front. All right, but you're also able to get yourself in a position where to this side, you can handle that seam route right there with your inside safety. Okay, now obviously without the effect of 4 verticals, it's easier for the safety to play. But for argument's sake, it allowed itself to adapt to where it could still be a Rip Liz Match principle to this side. And then this side with no number 2 threat coming vertical or no number 2 threat, it right away can morph itself into old and country cover 3 stuff. Okay, so it's a coverage that was developed to take care of, or at least adapt to, the issues it was facing without just getting rid of one high 8-man front and saying we don't have the dudes to play cover 1, we can't play single high safety, everything's middle of the field open. That's not what they did. What they did was guys like Coach Saban and guys in the NFL, they found a way to adapt their defense so they didn't have to scrap the whole playbook. All right, because originally when they had to make some changes and they kind of scrapped a lot of the middle of the field close ideas, they ended up losing games because they couldn't stop the run with their split field safety stuff. So the game evolves, the game adapts, thanks to great coaches, thanks to great players, all right, whether it's Dan Marino or the quarterbacks in the NFL, they got people away from, all right, a lot of the country cover 3 stuff because the quarterbacks were too good. They were exploiting the seams, they were exploiting other throws that country cover 3 just couldn't handle. So the game adapts, it evolves. It's a game that's built out of necessity. When something happens and you need to change, all right, the necessity to make that change is what brings apart or brings us upon the adaptations. Whether it's offense or defense, it doesn't matter. There's something that's always going to adapt based on the problem that the other side of the ball is giving them in a certain instance. Right? So you get this beautiful coverage where you can get to 8-man fronts, you can close the middle of the field based on the routes that come, all right? Because again, it's rip-liz match, it's a pattern matching concept. Based on the routes that come determines how you play that coverage. So it's not one set way like the old school country spot drop cover 3. Drop to that spot, reroute, get your eyes on the QB, vision, and break. Okay? That's safe. All right? And I've done that before. I've carried that up to 2020, we were still doing some vision and break cover 3 stuff. Why? Because it's safer. It's easier. And if you're not playing teams that can affect you a lot with 4 verticals, or you're not playing a quarterback who can make those throws without involving the free safety. So in other words, when the quarterback has to make some of those throws, your free safety is always going to be able to make plays because he can't throw it 30 yards or 26 yards or 22 yards in the seam with velocity, no trajectory. If he can't take advantage of those things, then you can get away with playing the safer version of country cover 3, spot drop cover 3, and here's why. Okay, I did a study on this 2 years ago in the offseason, in some of our 7-on-7 and some of our work in the summer. We installed a country cover 3, a spot drop cover 3. And what I found was, in 7-on-7, when the quarterback had plenty of time to throw and nobody in his face and he's back there just doing his thing, we would give up more completions in country cover 3 because without matching the routes, all right, there were bigger windows to throw into. But we gave up less coverage busts down the field because it was very simple. Corners were pedaling out. Safety was playing off the QB in the middle. We were dropping the spots and rerouting. It was very easy to teach. The kids picked it up like that very quickly. They knew curl flat. They knew hook curl. They knew how to reroute. Okay, so we gave up more completions, but we gave up less busts. As soon as we installed our quarters concepts, our pattern read, pattern match stuff, our quarters adjustments to spread sets or two removed or trip sets, as soon as it involved the communication between a corner and a safety of what's vertical, when we need to come off, we would first start teaching it, and you know, 2 to the flat, corner comes up, safety doesn't go to 1, they make an easy throw. All right. 2 runs a route that the safety doesn't think is vertical, he thinks it went inside, he works to rob 1 or do something else, and then 2 works his way back up the seam. When we first started teaching our middle of the field open concepts, we gave up more busts down the field, easy throws. Now, when we eventually started to play it better, we covered underneath routes a lot tighter. We had smaller throwing windows in our pattern match stuff, all right, but we had more busts. When we taught country cover 3, we had less busts, less easy throws down the field, all right, again, depending on the skill set of the quarterback, okay, but we couldn't cover underneath stuff. There were more throwing lanes, more throwing windows, balls that we were rallying and two-hand tagging off of 6 and 8 and 10 and 12-yard routes, where in our pattern match stuff, we were able to do it a little bit differently. So the rip-liz match, I can make a long story short, and again, I wish I could get into it more. I wish I can get into all the run fits and all the route distributions. I'm not a rip-liz match guy, but what I can tell you is the adaptation and the creation of the coverage was brilliant in itself because they found a way to take their coverage. They found a way to put Band-Aids on the things they needed to put Band-Aids on by creating a coverage that morphed into what they needed. All right? They didn't just come out and play one free. All right? They didn't just come out and play country cover 3. They played rip-liz match, and based on the routes, the coverage morphed into what they felt like they needed to defend those route progressions, which only makes sense. If you've got a coverage that's weak versus certain route progressions or certain route concepts, but you still need to carry that coverage, you need to figure out a way to tighten that coverage up versus those route concepts. We've all known about carrying other coverages, middle of the field open, middle of the field closed, changing your looks, changing how many high safeties you're playing. We all know we still have to do those things. We've got to present different looks to the offense. They're too good. The coaches are too good. The quarterback's too good. But at the same time, you can't just get rid of something you're doing because the offense has something that picks it apart. If that's part of your package, you've got to tighten up that package. And that's the adaptation of rip-liz match. They found a way to fix the holes in the coverage by developing a concept that said, hey, versus these routes, it's going to become cover 1, but versus these routes, it's okay to be cover 3. All right, and it's been around for the last 25, 30 years. If you want to go back and say it was the early 90s, all right, that Coach Saban came up with it when he was with the Cleveland Browns. Still playing at Alabama. A lot of schools are still playing it. A lot of schools still use it. All right, it is to me, it's cover 3 on steroids. The old adage was cover 3 covers everything, but it covers nothing. All right, so cover 3 covers everything on paper, but then when you get on the field, it covers nothing. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. I'm not making that argument. I'm just telling you that argument is out there. So it basically is cover 3 on steroids. It's middle of the field closed on steroids. It's the ability to play what you need to play versus what you are seeing. That's what makes the great one so great. That's what makes me thankful that there's so much football out there to study and understand why. You go back and you look at the history, you see where it came from. It came from somewhere for a reason. It came from spot drop, America's cover 3, country cover 3, vision and break, reroute verticals or people in the seam. It went from that, and it morphed into a pattern match deal where now versus the patterns they needed to see, 4 streaks, Seattle, I think Nick Saban calls it 4 verts. It became exactly what they needed it to become, and they started helping their players with the throws that they couldn't help them with before versus the arm talent that was in the NFL. Okay, so hopefully this is a little bit of an introduction to Rip Liz match, how it plays. All right, bottom line is basically the outside safeties, 2 vertical and out, you're going to play. 2 inside, you're going to make an undercall. The corner play is very similar. You're going to play all of one. If one goes under, you can make an undercall and you can drop out. The 2 inside backers are going to be cut and robot players. You're going to hear terms like 3 up is 3, 3 through. All right, 3 through means something like, all right, so if you got some type of deal where this guy went vertical and you know the safety's carrying and this guy pushed to the flat, that inside backer is now going to have to get out there and play 3 through to the flat because you don't have a flat player. All right. Now, versus certain formations, what they ended up starting to do is they started figuring out versus certain formations, if that was the quick release they were getting, they had ways where they could call and turn this into zone coverage. If they weren't afraid of 4 verticals, they could turn that side into a true zone coverage so that they can alleviate the issues of the Mike trying to run with 3 through. All right, but every coverage has its issues. Every coverage has its weakness. You got to work to adapt to take care of those weaknesses. All right, I appreciate everything you guys do for me, everything you do for Play Fast Football. Remember to click that subscribe button. If you're already a subscriber, turn the notifications on so you know every time we do a video, every time I hop on YouTube Live. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Like the content, don't like the content. You're not going to hurt my feelings. I'm going to keep doing what I do. All right, when you do this type of thing, all right, and you put yourself out there, there's going to be people that give it thumbs down. That's their opinion. They have the right to that opinion. I would never take away anybody's right to give me a thumbs down. Leave a comment. Any comment that I can see on my end, I'm always going to try and respond to. If you leave a comment about a video I think I can do, this is a version of a video where somebody asked me to talk about Rip Liz match. I'm talking about the origins of it, where it was, how it was created, because I can't fully get into how to play Rip Liz match with all the proper terminology, all the you know, the pattern distribution, because I'm not a Rip Liz match guy. I've studied it, I've looked at it, I've dabbled in it before, but it's not my forte. I wouldn't do a video on something that I am not really good at explaining. All right, so here I think I can explain the evolution and the adaptation of cover 3 to Rip Liz match, what it is, what it was intended to be. So again, if you're getting ready to play football, God bless you, do everything they say it's possible. We did it here in Florida. Everybody stay safe out there. Do the things you need to do so we can get back to somewhat normal. All right, remember, you won't play well until you play fast, and I'll catch you next time.